Why, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Truly Odd podcast, where we bring you the latest in game news and movie news. I'm your host, Joe Garcia. So grab your controllers, get your popcorn, and let's dive right on into these topics. And yes, I'm going to ignore the fact that I got a Snorlax on my head, and we're just going to talk about the game topics, shall we? Starting with our first game news topic of the day. And our first game news topic of the day is regarding Dispatch sells over 1 million copies in its first 10 days of release. Let's go ahead and take a look here at this article from Game Informer. So, Dispatch, a a choice-driven superhero adventure starring Aaron Paul, has sold over 1 million copies in its first 10 days of release. The game boasts a 93% Metacritic rating and praise for its writing, performances, and episodic format, with support from top voice acting. Oh, excuse me, with support from top voice actors and content creators. Ad Hoc Studios sees the milestone as a green light for more narrative driven originals, with Dispatch episodes continuing to drop weekly until the finale. So, I've never heard of this game, and honestly, it doesn't seem like a game that would necessarily interest me if I'm being completely honest. But I do think it was very interesting that this is not only an episodic game, but the way that they're releasing it with it being an episodic release schedule for it. So I thought this was pretty interesting, and I thought it was pretty cool concept when it came to the game, the way that the game is being developed. So I'm very curious to know what you guys think and if you guys have played Dispatch. So if you guys are interested, I'll have the link to this in the description down below so you guys could check out the trailer for yourselves. But I just thought this was an interesting overall um, game concept, and hopefully we can get more content like this, because if people are interested in stuff like this, I think it's great that we have studios creating content like that. All right, guys. That being said, let's go ahead and move over to our next game news topic of the day. And our next game news topic of the day is regarding a story we've mentioned recently regarding the layoffs at Rockstar. But this one has to do with some of the fired staff. Fired Rockstar staff protests outside UK office and denied the leak allegations and demand reinstatement. So, if you guys haven't known, in the news cycle, Rockstar laid off about 30 to 40 employees, saying that they for gross misconduct, and they've come out and said that the gross misconduct was they were leaking information about the either the games or the studio, just private information from the company, and they were being Rockstar was being accused of uh, what's it called, union busting, meaning that they were getting rid of people trying to unionize in the game industry. So it's just become a whole fiasco so far. So let's go ahead and read some of the details regarding this story. And here are some of the protests going on. If you guys are interested in seeing some of the imagery, go ahead and click on the article and take a look at it for yourself. It'll be in the description down below. But here are some of the details regarding this. Up to 40 fired Rockstar employees rallied outside of Take Two and Rockstar North office, denying accusations of leaked confidential information and demanding reinstatement and back pay. The IWGB, which is, I think, the, what was it again? Something, the Independent Workers Union of Great Britain, I think it was. Yeah, that's right here. Okay. Um, excuse me. The WBGL alleged that the firing targeted union affiliated staff in a private Discord group, while Rockstar and Take Two maintain the dismissals were solely for gross misconduct. The protests follow Rockstar's increased focus on cybersecurity ahead of Grand Theft Auto 6's May release, aimed amid ongoing criticism over focused forced office returns and alleged disregard for workers' rights. I do think this is all interesting that this is all happening before the release of Grand Theft Auto 6, because not only have they put billions of dollars into this, but the fact that now that their workers are trying to unionize it, and mind you, it's not just Rockstar that's trying to unionize. There's a lot of people in the video game industry attempting to unionize as things move forward in our industry. So I do think it's interesting that this is going on right now, especially when we have a game, such a big, ridiculous game being released, and to know that all the employees are rallying outside, along whoever else may be joining them for the rally, family and friends, and other people who disagree with how workers have been treated. It's crazy that this is going on at this moment. So if you guys want to know more, I'm sure there's more details out there if you guys look into it. I just want to inform you guys that this is happening, and hopefully this doesn't hinder any. I don't think this will hinder the sales of the game necessarily, but I think it'll put a little blemish on Rockstar as a studio if this continues on any further past this. So we'll have to see what happens overall. But let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Do you think Rockstar probably let them off because of union-based stuff, or are you assuming that they're correct and some information was leaked? Until there's evidence otherwise, I can't say either or is correct. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. All right, guys. That being said, let's move over to our next game news topic. And our next game news topic is regarding the PlayStation Store cross-buy tag has fueled speculation of console plus PC game access. Let's go ahead and take a look at this article from IGN. So if you didn't know, this recent tag popped up, cross-buy PS5/PC on, I don't know if it was a website or something like that. So this is some of the details, I guess, about the link information. Curious about it. But according to this, a newly surfaced cross-buy graphic and store tag suggests Sony may be preparing for cross-platform purchases across PS5 and PC, while Dell Labs, while Dell Labs confirms the assets are legitimate. It's unknown whether the feature will apply to the apply to first-party titles, future PC ports, or re or excuse me, or a rumored PlayStation handheld. Forgive me, guys. I'm dyslexia is fucking kicking in hard right now. But I do think this is very interesting because Sony, and well, rightfully so, their exclusives have hit only their platform for a certain amount of period, whether that be a year or so, and then they release it on PC. Now that could be for one of two reasons. One, they either develop it for both PC and PS5, just release it on PS5, and then make their money on PC later on. Or number two, they only develop it for PS5 and then eventually port it over to PC, which requires more development and more QA testing and things of that sort. So there's two ways for them to go about developing games like this. So the fact that they're getting a PS5 PC port over at Dell Labs or whatever the hell that company's called, um, it just goes to show that maybe they're going to allow you to buy a PC version and a PS5 version of the game, or possibly have buy the PS5 version of the game and be able to play it on PC or their handheld. So it's a very interesting kind of aspect. I mean, I think this is much to do about nothing overall, because who knows what's going to end up happening. But I do think it's interesting having a cross buy function, and the reason it would be interesting is because if PC players buy, I don't know, let's just say Ghost of Yote comes out on PC and they end up buying the cross buy for PS5 and PC, who knows, maybe they want to eventually buy the portal so they can stream the game on their portal. So now they have it on their PlayStation account. So now they're able to stream it there. Or at some point, maybe they want to buy a PS5 so they end up playing it there as well. So I do think that's a pretty interesting. We also got players and gamers that do both PS5 and PC gaming. So I think that'd be beneficial for them. So while it is much to do about nothing, in my opinion, I do think it's some benefits in the overall aspect of something like a cross-buy thing. But let me know what you guys think of this. Do you think this feature is like me, where it's really much to do about nothing and it's just a typical little cool thing that they could possibly do in the future if they wanted to? Or do you think this has bigger implementations of how future releases on games will be? Maybe they'll port them both on PC and PS5 straight out the gate when they release exclusives. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down. All right, guys. That being said, let's go over and move over to our next game news topic of the day. And our next game news topic of the day is regarding Dan Houser says that Red Dead Redemption 3 will probably happen. And it admits that it would be hard to watch more than Grand Theft Auto 6. And I'll explain why right now. But let's go ahead and break over this article from IGN. Former Rockstar lead writer Dan Houser says he'd feel more emotionally about a Red Dead Redemption 3 being made without him than a Grand Theft Auto 6 due to the series' cohesive two-game arc. While no official announcement has been made, Houser and actor Roger Clark both believe a third Red Dead will likely happen, citing franchise's massive success and Take-Two's statements about being committed to its future. Clark, who portrayed Arthur in Red Dead Redemption 2, doubts his character will reappear, suggesting any future installment would explore a new timeline or protagonist. well, I do think it's interesting because Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel. So I wonder if they would do that again, where Red Dead Redemption 3 would be another prequel. So then you might have the return of Arthur, but it would just be a younger Arthur. So there's that option there. But the interesting thing here is that they feel like it would happen. Now, this makes sense to me. I know right now everyone's focus is on Grand Theft Auto 6, and rightfully so. But Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2, I think together have sold over 100 million copies. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 sold like 70 plus million, and then the original Red Dead did like 15 to 20 plus million or something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers. That's not even including Undead Nightmare and things like that. So this franchise is a very, very successful franchise for Take-Two and Rockstar, so it makes sense for them to do another one at some point. I'm sure this will be way down the road because Grand Theft Auto 6 needs to come out. So we're probably not looking for a game like this coming out to like 2029, 2030 or something crazy like that. But I do think it will eventually happen. And Dan Houser has been the writer on a lot of these projects, so I'm sure this would be very heartbreaking for him as a storyteller and as someone that's been very closely involved with these games to not be involved with the next one to come out. So I think it makes sense for him to be a little emotional attached to it. But the thought that the studio will be eventually doing a Red Dead 3 was the thing I really wanted to focus on, and I'm very much looking forward to when they do that. I've thoroughly enjoyed the Red Dead games, and depending on how Grand Theft Auto 6 turns out, if it turns out the way that everyone thinks it is, I can't imagine how a Red Dead Redemption 3 would turn out at that point because it's going to be absolutely wild. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Do you think Red Dead Redemption 3 is going to come sooner than I think, or do you think that they're going to probably take their time on it? Let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move over to our last game news topic of the day. And our last game news topic of the day is regarding Battlefield 6 has hit 10 million sales so far, but analysts are saying that Call of Duty Black Ops 7 will still dominate. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Game Rant. So, with over 10 million copies sold and a peak of 521,000 Steam beta players, Battlefield 6 marks a major rebound for the franchise. Despite Battlefield's momentum, though, analysts predict that Black Ops 7 will oversell it due to Call of Duty's broader multi-platform reach and entrenched dominance. And I think they're referring to, hold on, let's scroll down here. All these games right here that have outperformed any Battlefield game. So you have all the way from Call of Duty 2023 to Call of Duty Vanguard 2021 outperforming Battlefield. So it makes sense for them, for analysts to feel that way, even though people are saying that Battlefield 6 tends to look and feel better than Battlefield 7 as far as beta is concerned. Anyways, while Battlefield 6 may not dethrone Call of Duty this year, its success signals renewed potential for future competition for the FPS space. And I think there'll be even more competition if that so-called Titanfall 3 is not rumored and is a legit thing, which I would absolutely love, by the way. That's just a little side note. But the important thing here isn't necessarily for Battlefield specifically. The important thing isn't who sells more copies. And let me explain why. Because even if Call of Duty outsells them, that doesn't matter as much as player retention. Player retention is players coming back and continuing to come back to Battlefield. So the question will be, who has the better retention once everything's all said and done? Because you have players who love just games and want to play both. So I think it makes sense for, I know a lot of Battlefield players that will probably want to play zombies and will probably want to even play the campaign and check out a little bit of multiplayer and compare the two. And overall, it's who's going to be coming back to Battlefield. So while I do think we'll see some Battlefield play die down during the release of Call of Duty Black Ops 7, I do think we will see players return to Battlefield 6 overall. I'm not saying it's a better franchise. I'm just saying that I think players will see what they prefer, and I think having that retention will be more beneficial for Call of Duty Black Ops 6 overall. So I do think these analysts are correct. It's just a matter of how long the Black Ops will maintain the audience's attention. So we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening there. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Do you agree with these analysts that Black Ops 7 will outperform Battlefield 6? Or do you feel that Black Ops 7 just doesn't compare and is not a good quality of a game as Black Ops 6 is, so it will not outsell it? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Or, sorry, if you think you're like me, or we'll outsell it, but the point of it will be the player retention. Let me know. Sorry, guys. This beanie's kind of new, so it's doing that whole sucking up your face, going up to the top of your head thing. But anyways, guys, that being said, let's go ahead and move over to our movie news topics of the day. And our first movie news topic of the day is regarding the Michael first teaser trailer has dropped today. So let's go ahead and take a look now. Mind you, YouTube, bit of a bitch, can't play it. So if you guys want to take a look at it, I'll have a link to the YouTube video and a link to it, to this article in the description down below. Of course, you have Jafar Jackson starring as his uncle Michael Jackson, and this looks absolutely phenomenal. You know, some of the prosthetics didn't look too good at the end of the trailer. They have like a shot of like a younger Michael, and you can see Jafar Jackson has a prosthetic nose on, and it doesn't. I don't know why. For me, it just didn't blend very well. But overall, as a teaser trailer, I think this looked absolutely phenomenal. It really brought me back, like seeing him doing the Thriller, the making of Thriller, seeing him do his performances, his signature dance moves, singing certain songs, him with the Jackson Five. I really excited to see what it was. Now, this is just a teaser, so I know a lot of people were probably, for example, I showed this to my brother, and he was more expecting, oh, where's the drama, where's more of the storytelling. This is a teaser. I think it was just more them introducing to us, hey, you know, we're getting this movie out with Michael Jackson. I mean, about Michael Jackson, and here's some of the highlights in his career, stuff that's going to remember you, stuff that's going to bring up nostalgia, stuff that'll get you excited to see something like this. But I think we're going to be getting a full trailer sometime around Wicked, whether that be the week before, but definitely this trailer, the full Michael trailer, will be playing in front of Wicked when it comes out. But just so you guys know, this movie is slated to come out in April of 2026. Specifically April 24th, 2026. So if you guys are looking forward to that, which I'm definitely looking forward to it, go ahead and keep that and mark that date on your calendar. Hopefully they don't change it. And mind you, there are still issues going on where they kind of broke this up into two movies, and they might not do the second part because they have to do a bunch of reshoots. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on regarding it. So we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening. But I do think they're going to for sure break this up into two movies. This will probably cover the Jackson 5 up to like maybe the height of Thriller or Billie Jean or something like that, and then after that, work its way. The next movie will work the way into the more later parts of his life. But let me know what you guys think about this trailer or this teaser trailer in the comments down below. All right, guys. That being said, let's go ahead and move over to our next movie news topic of the day. And our next movie news topic is regarding Gremlins 3 is set for a 2027 release with Chris Columbus directing and Steven Spielberg executive producing. Let's go ahead and take a look here at this article from Deadline. Hold on, let me click away here. Anyways, Warner Brothers will release Gremlins 3 on November 19th, 2027, marking the first live action installment in nearly 30 years, with original screenwriter Chris Columbus directing and Steven Spielberg executive producing. The film's script is credited to Columbus, Zach Limpsky, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Adam Steen, continuing the legacy of the 1984 original and its cult favorite sequel. Cult favorite sequel, Gremlins 2: The New Batch. Announced during Warner Brothers Discovery's earnings call, the project underscores the studio's box office resurgence amid potential corporate restructuring and acquisition interests. So, yeah, I think this is absolutely awesome that Chris Columbus is going to be directing this movie. And of course, you know, when they say Steven Spielberg executive producing, there's the two aspect of Steven Spielberg producing. There's the aspect of where he's super hands-on and has a lot to say, and then there's someone made a phone call to Steven answered a question, and now he has an executive producer role because you want the greatest director of all time's name attached to this movie, or he has some rights involved in it. So I'm not sure to what capacity Steven Spielberg will be involved with this movie as far as actually hands-on producing aspect, but just having his name there is always a good thing to have when it comes to a movie like this. But I'm very excited. I know that a lot of studios are bringing up old franchises. A lot of people say Hollywood doesn't got nothing new to say, but I feel more original movies come out now than ever before. Just people don't tend to see them, and IPs really sell. And I think Gremlins has been silent long enough, 30 years, and it's time for a resurgence. And I do think it would be awesome to see what a new movie could do in the modern time. But let me know what you guys think about this. Are you excited for a Gremlins 3? Are you not interested in it? Do you think it should remain 30 years ago and just leave it at that? Or are you guys looking forward to the next one? All right, guys. That being said, let's go ahead and move over to our next movie news topic. And our next movie news topic is regarding Netflix and Sony target a 2029 release for K-pop Demon Hunters 2. Go ahead and take a look here. Nintendo and Sony are in advanced talks for a K-pop Demon Hunters 2, aiming for a 2026 release with no confirmation yet as to the plans for a theatrical release. The original film became Netflix's most watched. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. The original film became Netflix's most watched movie ever, with over 325 million views and a 25 million domestic box office haul, plus a platform selling soundtrack. So that they ended up putting the movie in theater for like a sing along, and so far domestically it made $25 million. Imagine how much it would have made if this movie was released in theaters. I'm just saying. Anyways, with toy deals, uh, secured through the Mattel and Hasbro, the animated franchise continues to grow, driven by the unique blend of K-pop stardom and supernatural action. Now, the problem here and the question is, why the fuck is this going to take so long to 2029? And the truth is, I have no idea. I think this might take such a long time because they have to come up with new songs. They have to come up with a new story. They have to make sure the cast is going to return. They have to make sure scheduling conflicts. Now, mind you, animated movies can be a little bit easier when it comes to scheduling conflicts than other movies. I'm not saying that other movies it's super difficult as compared to animated, but animated films have it a little bit easier because you're just behind a booth, even though that does take time. So I'm curious why this is taking so long. I think it has to do with Sony Animation, because look at what's happening with Spider-Man and like the new Into the Spider-Verse one, where they had such a cliffhanger and they're taking so long for the sequel to come. I just think that their animated studio isn't up to par with handling quick releases, like if they wanted a quick turnaround for a K-pop Demon Hunters 2. But waiting 4 years for a movie is quite some time, especially for a movie like this. So hopefully they can get something going to get it released into like 2027 or 2028, but I very much doubt they'll be able to do that. So yeah, if you're looking forward to a sequel to this, it looks like you're going to have to wait quite some time till you're able to see it. And the question will be at that point whether Netflix will release it on streaming or release it into theaters. And it makes sense for me for them to release it into theaters because they're just going to make. Hold on, let me fix this. They're just going to make so much more money that way. So hopefully they end up doing that, but we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening. But yeah, 2029, guys. I think that's wild, but it is what it is. All right, guys. That being said, let's move over to our next movie news topic of the day. And our next movie news topic of the day is regarding Nintendo is expanding its movie slate with Super Mario Galaxy and Zelda, uh, teases broader franchise universe. Sorry, guys, I read that horribly wrong. But Nintendo is powering up for more video game adaptations, essentially. So let's go ahead and break to you guys some of the details here in this article. Following the Super Mario Bros. Movie's billion-dollar success, Nintendo will release Super Mario Galaxy in April of 2026, with The Legend of Zelda in May of 2027. Other rumored projects, include Luigi's Mansion, Donkey Kong, Yoshi's Island, a possible animated or live action adaptation of the following: Metroid, Kirby. I'm assuming Kirby would be animated, but anyways, Star Fox and Fire Emblem. With films spread across studios like Universal and Sony, a crossover like Super Mario Bros. Remains unlikely despite Nintendo's uh, Marvel-like IP depth. So I think I think Universal and Sony would get along to get some of this IP together for a Super Smash Brothers movie, because I think a Super Smash Brothers movie would do very beneficial for all studios involved. Kind of how because Sony's willing to play with others like Sony and Marvel, as you've seen what they've done with Spider-Man. So I'm sure Sony wouldn't hesitate to do the same thing with Universal to get a crossover like this. But just to know some of the things that they have slated, like Nintendo has so many different IPs. I would personally like a Kirby movie, and mind you, I'm biased. My lady absolutely loved Kirby. It's her favorite fictional character, so I would love for her to be able to see a Kirby movie. I would love to take her to theaters. Have it released in July, guys. That's Anyways, so I would love for that to happen. But like little cool IPs, like I would love to see an October release or a Halloween release of Luigi's Mansion. Like that would be something absolutely phenomenal for a franchise like this, and for a cool, spooky-ish animated feature for kids during Halloween. Like that's something that could really be cool. As far as like other IPs like Yoshi Island, I can't really see that. But the other one that has the two that have probably the biggest appeal for a franchise and to continue and have action and do something really cool would of course would be Metroid and Star Fox. Like those two being more galactic battle things, like there's so much you can do with IPs like that, and so much like ways to interpret it. And you can have Super Mario Galaxy, and then maybe you could see Star Fox in there, or Metroid, because they're galactic kind of beings. Or if you do have the crossover like Super Smash Bros, and then you incorporate everyone into that, like there's just so many things you can do. And I'm very excited to see where this all goes and how this all pans out over the next couple of years. So yeah, I'm super excited for I guess you can call it a Super Mario or Nintendo universe. I think it'll be absolutely phenomenal. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. All right, guys. That being said, let's go ahead and move over to our last movie news topic of the day. And our last movie news topic of the day is regarding Zach Cregger's Resident Evil movie set for pre-outbreak in Raccoon City, and we have some set photos. Let's go some snowy set photos. Let's go ahead and take a look at this article from IGN. So here are some of the photos that we've seen from the set of Resident Evil from Zach Cregger. Nothing much. You don't see any cool zombies or anything specific. You just see like some set photos, some of the city landscapes for Raccoon City and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if this is a legit poster or if someone created this on Photoshop, but I think it looks absolutely cool. But one of these things that I've read in this article that I like and I dislike at the same time. I'll just have to read to you guys some of the details so you can see what I mean. Set photos from uh, Set photos from Prague confirm Zach Cregger's Resident Evil films takes place in a snowy covered Raccoon City, likely before the 1998 outbreak seen in the game. The film hold on. Okay, yeah, this is the kind of the news that threw me off a bit when I read it. The film exists within the Capcom's game continuity, but won't retell existing stories or feature mainstays like Chris, Jill, or Leon, focusing instead on new characters. The film is slated for a September 2026 release. So, why this threw me off is because I do think it's cool that they may be. Now, I'm not sure if this is 100% confirmed, if the studio confirmed this, or if this is just this person in the article saying this. Sometimes people get things wrong. But I do think it's interesting that if they make this film continuity part of the actual game continuity, I think that would be pretty interesting and kind of cool. But at the same time, I think the mistake with that and the problem with that is, me as a fan of Resident Evil, I want to see Jill Valentine. I want to see Chris. I want to see Leon. I want to see all these characters. I want to see their stories adapted in a way that I haven't seen before. And the fact that we're not going to be getting something like that, probably a side story, is very interesting. Now, Zach Cregger did Weapons, which is an absolutely great movie in my opinion. But when it comes to a zombie movie or a Resident Evil type movie, the question is for me, are you going to lean more into the action? Are you going to lean more into the horror? Or are you going to give me a bit of both? The original Resident Evil movie, I think, did a great mix of both, leaning more towards the action. I feel Zach Cregger's going to lean more towards the horror aspect of things, which is okay, but when the action hits, it needs to hit hard, and I'm very curious how he's going to do it overall. Now, if this article is not necessarily 100% true that this is going to be within the same continuity, then disregard everything I said. But in the meantime, if it is going to be taking place in the same continuity, that's the problems I think that I'll personally come across when it comes to hearing about this film coming out. But we're just gonna have to wait and see what ends up happening when the movie is released. But let me know what you guys think of these set photos. Do they interest you, or are they whatever? I think they're whatever. Snowy cars and whatever. But the part that's interesting is having it can be contained within the continuity of the game. But let me know what you guys think about that aspect of it. And yeah, guys, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Truly Odd Podcast. If you like this episode, guys, please like and subscribe. And always remember, guys, stay true, be odd.